Hello everybody, this is Kiosha Davis, aka Miss Kitty. How you doing today? So we're back and we're talking about overcoming rejection. And so like I said before, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or anything like that. But what I can do is, what I'm here to do is help anybody who want to start down the road to overcoming some rejection in your life. There are things that we go through in life and we don't understand why we operate the way we operate, or why we can't let go of things, or why things are the same thing keeps happening over and over again. And so some of the things that I have brought to you before and will continue to bring to you will help you understand, or help you maybe see yourself, so where you can start examining yourself. Like I said before, some people don't have the funds to go to a therapist or go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. But one thing you can do is you can start looking inwardly, examining yourself, being honest with yourself about yourself. And if you start to do that and not be in denial, then what happens is that is the first step to you being free from rejection and going down the road of being healed from it. That is the beginning part. And the thing is, you cannot deal with something or be free from something if you first do not recognize that it exists. You have to know and agree that it exists. If you do that, then you can go after it and you can deal with it. Okay? So I talked about last time about my dad, and the one of the things in my life that opened the door to rejection was the fact that my father wasn't there in my life. And so just to clarify, if I haven't, which I probably didn't in the last video, is that, I did get healed and delivered from the hurt and the pain and the rejection of my father. But we did have a better relationship later on. He did come into my life after a certain age, about 19 years old, and he came into my life. That doesn't mean it wasn't rocky. That doesn't mean that I just accepted him with open arms, like, hey, like we just, function as normal. No, I was cautious. I didn't trust all the way, but I gave him the opportunity to make it right. And so I did love him, and I, showed him that I loved him. But loving someone and trusting someone is two different things. People have to earn your trust. And so he had to earn my trust. And so I loved him, and I gave him the opportunity to make it right. And he did take that opportunity to make it right. And so, and even in that, I did hold him accountable for things that, there are some things he didn't know, but there are some things he did know. And so the things that he did know, I did hold him accountable for those things. And he tried to make those wrongs right. So I'm appreciative that my dad did try to make our relationship better later on. So I'm grateful to God that did happen. So I just wanted to clarify for people, if you think that just forgiving someone, that you just automatically gonna trust them, and you just know that does not. They have to earn your trust, and they have, actions speak louder than words, and you have to see that they really want to change and things like. And you hold them accountable for things that they do that's wrong. I'm not saying beat them over the head with it or anything like that, but you hold them accountable and you let them know, hey, I don't like this. Hey, this doesn't feel right. Hey, whatever the case may be, you speak up. You don't hold stuff in like you did in the past, or like, we're trained to do in the past. You speak up and you let, those know who have hurt you and caused rejection in life that, hey, this doesn't feel right. And this is, when you do these things, this is the way it takes a toll on my mind, or this is the way it makes me feel. So you have to speak up. You know, you don't hold that stuff on the inside. You speak up and you get it out, you know, get it off your chest. You know, be sweet about it, be kind, but you can be stern and you can be strong at the same time. And that doesn't make you no punk. You're not no punk, or you're not weak or anything like that. You do things in love, but you step up and you let them know, hey, you're not going to hurt me no more. This is not, you know, this is not going to happen. If you want to continue a relationship with me, this is what needs to happen. And if you can't do that, then we can't have no relationship. Okay? So I just want to clarify that for people that, you know, so you don't think that everything was just hunky-dory. But it was a process. But I was willing to go through that process. And it did turn out better than what it was previously in my life. So today we're going to talk about rejection in the womb. And I think I've mentioned this before, but the part of rejection we're going to be dealing with is unwanted conception. This is the easy way for negativity or the demonic to enter. Basically, parents reject the child's very conception no matter what the circumstances are. Okay, I'm sure you've seen that in your life, or you've seen that in others' life, or you've seen that in some kind of movies, or, you know, any place in life you've seen that. Basically, parents reject the child's very conception no matter what the circumstances are. Children can be conceived in either love, lust, or rape. Unless you are that, you know, that person who, I'll say like this. Unless you're that boy that I heard about in the news who got real happy in the pool. And when I read the article, I don't know if he got real happy on purpose or by accident, but he got real happy in a pool at a birthday party and got 16 to 17 women pregnant at one time. So that's kind of a phenomenon. So that wasn't the category of love, lust, or rape. That was an accident, if you would say. And matter of fact, I think a doctor in the article said that was some kind of a condition that happened. But something made him happy, and he got real happy, and there you go. They swam. And they found a host, an egg, and they fertilized 16 to 17 of them. So, people who conceive children through lust, whether you're not married or you're married, and cheating on your spouse or seeking to indulge or to get, you know, basically people to get their rocks off rather meaning to have a baby. So what I'm saying is that having a child is not always because you love somebody. Sometimes you want to get your rocks off. Sometimes you just want to indulge in something. You know, maybe you said some shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Maybe something, maybe this opportunity that you could have this person wasn't open in the past, but now you had the opportunity. It came around again, so you want to see what you was missing, you know, and things like that happen. So when that happens, a baby pops in, right? Okay. There's some people who choose not to get married, who do love each other, or say that they love each other, and they conceive children in love. Okay. Few illegitimately conceived babies and are wanted and loved. So what I'm saying is, because I just jacked that up, few babies that are conceived illegitimately are wanted and loved. Okay? Hopefully I said that better, because sometimes my words just get twisted up. I apologize. Please forgive me, but life goes on. All right. Children are often rejected at the beginning because of lust or rape. We talked about that. Babies should be conceived in love. To change this, or allowing rejection to come into an unborn child or woman, can minister spiritually to the unborn infant. So what I'm saying is that to change the rejection, okay? So let's say you sleep around you didn't mean to, or if you meant to, however. And let's say rejection is entering to that child because you made a dumb decision. You made a mistake, you made a dumb decision, whatever the case. The rejection that may come into that child can be changed. It can be altered if you can catch it quick enough. It can always be changed at any point, but the longer it stays or takes root, the harder it is to get out. That's what I'm saying. That doesn't mean it can't come out later. That doesn't mean that. It just means that the harder it is. But there is nothing too hard for God to do. So, and that's just my belief. Okay? But, so a mother can, or a father can sing to them, pray for them, communicate their love to the child. So whether how the child was conceived, you can sing to your child, love, speak to them in love, pray for them. Those kinds of things you can do. The Bible also mentions, and if you look at the story of John the Baptist and how he was filled, the Bible says how he was filled with the Holy Spirit while he was in the mother's womb. It was that means an unborn baby is capable of sensing both positive and negative spiritual influences. I don't know if you've seen a parent who is pregnant. If a person touches the belly of a mother, the child will move. Child will move when they hear voices, especially certain voices, especially the mama's voice or the daddy's voice. The children will move. That means that they can hear them. They're responding. They know if something's negative or positive. If they were like that in the mother's womb, they're the same way when they come out. It's just like when you have little babies, little newborn babies. Certain newborn babies respond better to certain parents. They know when your heart is not right. You got some babies that'll go to people and just cry. But then when they get to another person or their parent, then they calm down. Because they know when your heart is not right, and they do not want to be, would you want to be in the arms of somebody whose heart wasn't right or heart wasn't right toward you? No. So what do you think a baby's going to do? Exactly. So, some OBGYNs believe that a baby knows whether or not he or she is loved by the time they are formed in the womb after a few weeks. So, that's what some OBGYNs believe. Is that true? I believe it's true. Just being pregnant with my children, they were all different and they were all responded different. And if it was somebody negative, you knew it. Even now, my 3-year-old, my 5-year-old, if somebody's negative, they know. Because they'll look at them like, you ain't touching me. Don't come no closer to me. They'll look at them. They won't respond. They won't talk to them. They just stare at them. And they won't let them touch them or anything. So, kids know. Kids are smarter than what you think they are. Remember when you was a child. I'm sure you can remember somebody that would come around you or come across you or come across your parents. And you probably didn't like them. You didn't know why you didn't like them, but you didn't like them. And maybe you warned your parent about them because you knew deep down inside someone right with that person. They did not have a right motive. Okay? So, other prenatal rejections are conceived too soon after marriage. I won't do that. Like I said before, I got pregnant with my son right after I got married to my husband. Well, it wasn't right after. It was about a year. So, but to me, I thought it was too soon because I was only married for almost a year. So, I thought it was too soon. So, that opened, I wasn't too happy. But I got over it, and I'm grateful for my son. He is a joy in my life, and I wouldn't have no other, I wouldn't have it any other way. That's my oldest. All my children, I feel the same way. I wouldn't have it any other way. I love all my babies. Children that is conceived too close to birth of another child. I went through that. Because I have 2 kids that are 2.5 years apart. So that was some space. But then I have 3 children. They're like 15 months apart, each one. And that was hard. Having 3 kids in diapers or pull-ups at one time. Ooh, that's torture. I wouldn't wish that on nobody. That is torture. Okay? But I made it through. Thank God. And I still have hair. All right. Financial strain on a family. That's another thing. Fear. Conflict between parents. That happens. Where if you have a child out of wedlock or you have a child in wedlock, doesn't matter. There's going to be some conflict. Just because you're married and you have children don't mean the parents do not have conflict. You have conflict. How you going to raise a child? What they going to go by? How they're going to be raised. You know, all those different scenarios and things. And remember, a lot of people got dysfunction in their life. So what you think is normal, the other person is like, no, that's dysfunction. We're not doing that. We're not raising a child like that. You're like, but why? My parents died. I turned out okay. So that's a constant battle right there on its own. Okay? So parents having more children than they expected. I wanted 2 kids. I have 7. There you go. So, contemplated or attempted abortion. You have some people out there that, contemplate abortion because they did not want to be pregnant. Or you have some parents who did attempt to have an abortion and did not go through with it. So that opens doors to rejection as well. And so we have to be mindful of that. We cannot think for 1 minute that the things that we do don't affect our children or affect anybody else, because it does. It does. Nothing ever just affect yourself. It always affects any person that is around you as well. Okay? So the first example of too soon after marriage, like I talked about that, let's just be clear. Pregnancy is just like laws of gravity. Pregnancy. It's like the law of gravity. Okay? Gravity. What goes up must come down. So if you jump out of a plane, let's be clear. If you jump out of a plane, you have a 50% chance of survival. It's 50. 50-50. It's the same thing with pregnancy. If you flumping, married or unmarried, doesn't matter. And those soldiers, them marching soldiers, get to marching and they meet that egg, then guess what? A baby come out. It's not rocket science. It's like I said, it's like laws of gravity. Close births. If you plan to space out a birth and that didn't happen, that's how you have closed births. If you was in that 6-week period and you're not supposed to touch whoever you touching, or whoever is not supposed to be touching you, within that 6 weeks, especially, you have a closed birth. That's what happens. Okay? Or you have a oops, as some people call it. Or not again, as some people call it. I've heard people say that. I've heard a person say that his mama said that he was a, ooh, okay. And his sister was a, oops. And then the other sibling was a, not again. And I'm like, if you're doing all that, then you need to do something to stop all of that. If it's going to be like that. Okay? You have one night stands, or just people think they just having fun. That happens with closed births. Let's say you're a person who got a child already. You have one night stand with somebody else. Poof, you pregnant. Didn't mean to. You were just having fun, just testing the waters. But you was frumping. You got pregnant. There you go. That's life. So now you gotta learn how to deal with that, because that's what's supposed to happen. Our bodies is designed to do that. Okay? So what I'm saying is, don't operate in the mindset of rejecting when you're pregnant or anything like that, because you did what your body does to get pregnant. And so how do you expect not to get pregnant if you're doing those things? That's kind of insane, you know? Protection and birth control pills and all those things they're not necessarily 100%. They tell you that. They're not 100%. Anything can go wrong at any time. So just know that. But if you do make a mistake, it's okay. Learn from it and go on, and and raise that baby right and treat that baby right in love. Okay? It happens. It ain't gonna be the first time, and I'm sure it ain't gonna be the last time for some people. But it's what you do with what you have now, what you now know what to do. Raise that child in love. Okay? And if you have a hard time and you can't, give it up for adoption. If you can do that. You don't have to give that child, the child may suffer rejection as far as being adopted, but that's better than, a child being aborted, or a child being attempted to be aborted, and those kinds of things. Okay? Number 3, we talked about financial. Parents may feel that they can't afford to have a baby. Beyonce truth, baby costs money, but at the same time, they don't cost as much money as people portray. Social media or TV and all these platforms make you think that you need to buy all this stuff to have a baby. So you think that, oh my God, I can't afford this child. That's not necessarily true. I'll give you a small example. You know how when they have these things that you have to have this big nursery with all these things and tools to have a baby? Well, you got to think about when people had babies back in the day. They didn't have all of that. They didn't have a crib and all this. My mama told me when I was born, I didn't have a bed. This is in the 80s, early 80s. I didn't have a bed. So you know what she did? She took a drawer, and put some padding in it, and I slept in that drawer. I'm not telling you to do that. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is she did what she had to do with what she had. She made it work. Okay? So, if you can't, they have side sleepers. They have all kinds of things. People want these changing tables. Like, let's say the change table in the nursery. Let's be honest. If you have a 2-story home, upstairs and downstairs, or if you're in the baby in another room, you are not going to march your tail up all the way upstairs to that baby's room to change that child on that changing table. No. You're not going to do that, especially if you're in the midst of doing other things, or if you're in the midst of cooking. You're going to take that baby with that plastic changing table that comes in the diaper bag, if you have one of those, and you're going to lay that booger on that couch or wherever you're sitting, or across your lap, and change the child. So why do you need a big old changing table in a nursery when you're going to change that child everywhere you at? It's a waste of money. So that's just my belief. Everybody has their own. But that's just my opinion. That could be money saved and used for something else. That's just an example of people having fear of, it costs too much money. The stuff that we think that we need for children, certain things they don't need. They are not going to remember all of that. And you think some of that stuff is convenient? No, it's not convenient. Okay. Fear. Number 4, fear of pain. Okay. Fear of complications of pregnancy. Fear of deformities. I've been through that. I lost a child who had Turner syndrome. I lost her at 7 months pregnant. I was 7 months pregnant, and lost that baby. She had like I said, Turner syndrome. That is hard to go through. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. That is very difficult to go through. But I cried a little bit, but I made up in my mind that I'd rather the baby be taken home, or in my belief, I believe that the baby was taken to heaven, and I was happy that I would rather that child be taken to heaven than the child to be born and have other deformities and then constant surgeries. And because kids who have Turner, especially girls who have Turner syndrome, because I believe Turner syndrome is only for girls, and the boys, there's a different name for that. But it causes a lot of strain, So, those things, I would rather the baby be with heaven. I know that's kind of harsh for some people, but I'd rather the baby to be in heaven with Jesus than to be here suffering, and then there's constant surgeries and different things like that. That's a lot for parents to go through, and I commend parents who are going through that. That is a mental strain, a physical strain, and just know that you're not alone. There are people out there going through the same thing, and so I really commend parents who are going through that even now, that have children with disabilities. I commend you for the love that you show your children, and that is a blessing. And so I'm going to make this quick because I don't want to keep you too long in this video. Parents plan on having a certain amount of children, and they end up having another one close together. That happens all the time. I just look at it as that child must needed to be here. It just must need to be here. Sometimes you don't see it now, but later down the road you will see it. Contemplating or attempting abortion. So you find out that you're pregnant, and whatever the circumstances, you contemplate of having that abortion, or the father says it. Well, maybe you should have an abortion. How many times we've heard that? Okay. Or if somebody in your family says it, well, maybe you should have an abortion. Okay. That's another thing. My grandfather, and I'm going to say this, my grandfather wanted my mother to give me to a relative when she was pregnant with me. My mother had me at young. My mother was 18. She was turning 19 after some months after I some months after I was born. And my grandfather wanted her to give me to a relative. Okay? So, and then also, my mother suffered some things where my grandfather tried to hire someone to do some things to, I would say, to attempt for me not to, he was trying to find a way for me not to be, for my mother to raise me that young. So his methods for what he was thinking was very evil and twisted. But that's what he knew. And so, thank God my mother did not fall for it. And my mother pressed through it. And she, and so she did not want to abort me. And she was not going to give me to a relative. Because she told me, she said, I could not come to grips in my mind with my child coming to me later and saying, why did you leave me, or why did you give me up, or why did you give me to a relative? She said she couldn't live with herself with doing that. So she chose to love me. She chose, and sometimes certain circumstances, if a person was raped or anything like that, look, I'm gonna be clear, and I'm gonna end it on this because I don't want to, overdo it, but I'm just gonna be clear. I'm pro-life. Okay? I don't necessarily believe in abortion. However, I will say this. If a person is raped, molested, or anything like that, or was manipulated or drugged into having sex, or any of those things, if they decide to get an abortion, that is between their bodies, their doctors, and God. Whatever Lord they or God they serve, that is between them. Okay? I'm not going to put judgment on them, because you have to put yourself in those shoes. When somebody takes something from you in that area, that is a hard pill to swallow. So, you cannot, I'm not judgmental on that. If they get an abortion, whatever, that's, like I said, it's between them, their bodies, their doctor, and whatever God they serve. Okay? Because it is hard enough to deal with that. Then you have to carry a baby after that for 9 months from that. That is difficult, and that will mess with a person's mind. Okay? Some people are not strong enough for that. Some people are. Each individual person is different. So I don't put my beliefs or my opinions on other people. That's between them, and that's their business. Okay? So I'm going to end there, and next time we're going to continue with rejection after birth. So I hope you have a good night, and love ya. Mwah.